Almost everyone who watches this channel is still in the classroom, and if you aren't, congratulations. You're now free from school. I am not. You can see that by just looking around at the surroundings around you. I'm in college. But today, I want to talk about what JoStars are like in the classroom. Because a lot of JoStars are very smart, very funny, but they also fit a lot of different archetypes of people in the classroom that you would meet. Now, which classroom, whether it be middle school, high school, or even college to an extent, is what is up for debate. Now, first you have Jonathan. Now, Jonathan's archetype is probably the most predictable, which is just a very, very, very good student. Now, he gets all of his work in on time, almost straight A's, doesn't really talk back. Hell, it might even be some days he reminds the teacher, which I don't see that happening that often, but I do see it happening just a little bit. But Jonathan, he would be all about business in school. Pure, straight, unadulterated business. Everything else he would block out, shade out. It did not matter. Jonathan Joestar in school, because y'all have to remember too, in the show, I'm pretty sure he goes to college. He's what, 2-3 years in the university by the time the story actually kicks off. Jonathan is a very smart character. That's why I think in school he's literally just chilling, getting all his work done on time, ready, willing, ultra hyper vigilant, ready to learn. So I guess if you're talking about archetypes, it's probably closer to like a goody two shoes, but probably not on teacher's pet level. Close to it, maybe younger Jonathan teacher's pet level, but like older, nah, I don't see teacher's pet in older Jonathan. I see him getting his work done and just fucking off, kind of. You know, having friends, being popular, all that shit. Joseph Joestar. I think we all know what Joseph Joestar is. Class clown, hands down. Joseph Joestar, if you even watched part 2, he was the epitome of the joke. He's making the joke. He is the joke. And guess what? He's making ancient beings laugh. He's making ancient beings want to let him live for a month because they see his fight potential. I think in school, he really did not give a fuck about no school and was clowning the teachers in their classroom on some crazy shit. Something you could never even imagine. He's clowning these teachers just for teaching. Like, he'll probably be the one who's clowning the teacher, but he's also getting all of his answers right. Because you also have to remember, Joseph's one of the smartest Joestars. He probably is the smartest Joestar. He's definitely straight A student when he wants to be. When he does not want to do that work, though, what can you say to Joseph? Hey, you 6'5" smart dickhead, do your work. The whole issue with Joseph and in the classroom is simply that he probably would not care enough about the schoolwork to do it. So that may affect his GPA slightly, but other than that, he's just really cruising, chilling, and being a class clown. He's probably one of the kids that's always sent to the principal's office for no reason, just because the teacher don't like him, even though almost everything he said was correct. Now, third, we have Jotaro Kujo. It's like the thing with Jotaro, teenage Jotaro. Also, I forgot to mention the first two, definitely playing sports, definitely breaking school records. Jotaro is too. I can see Jotaro doing that too. Because you have to think, right? Jotaro, the thing with him, at least what we saw in part 3, that Jotaro does what he wants at any point in time. So him doing what he wants, right? He's probably going to be like, if y'all ever watched Yu Yu Hakusho, it's probably going to be like a Yusuke archetype. Like, yeah, he's at school. Yeah, he's there. He's doing the work-ish. See, that's the difference between him and Yusuke. He will be doing the work. Jotaro's definitely doing his work. He was raised as a good boy. Definitely doing his work. But like, as far as like actually being involved or active within the classroom. No. He'll probably do his work just so he doesn't have to go to that class. You know, but like he's somewhere secluded. We already saw he does not like interacting with the students there. He thinks all of them is annoying as shit. He's one of those guys where you see him in the hallway and he has people surrounding him, but he's not talking to them. He's actually trying to walk past them and they keep walking behind him. You know, he's like that guy you see in school that just looks like he's over everything and he wants to end it. But he doesn't. Then you catch him in the fucking park at 10:30 on a Tuesday and you're like, why are you at the park? And he's like, bitch, shut the fuck up. That's the type of archetype I could see Jotaro falling into. Yosuke. Now, one thing we know about Yosuke that is confirmed, he loves side quests. Side quests are something he loves to do. And one thing his mom even said is that he always does them after school. Now, in school, right, Josuke is a special case because he has two archetypes. One is when he's with his friends, Okuyasu, Koichi. That is the class clown trio. Koichi's trying to do his work, but Okuyasu and Josuke are laughing up a fucking storm that entire class period. Ain't shit getting done if they're sitting near each other, and even if they ain't, they're probably telepathically telling jokes. And then the one when he's alone, I think it's a lot more chilled version, not necessarily of a class clown, but really just a chill version of Josuke. I feel like when he's alone by himself, he does a good portion of the work, mostly because his mom would beat him up if he didn't, because we saw what she did. I forget what he was doing, but he was at the TV playing the video game, and his mom started fucking kicking him in the back. So I think he does his work, but it's a reluctance. He's like a B/C student, not because he's not smart, but because he's probably thinking, what the fuck, why am I doing this? But I also feel like Josuke is he's one of the nicer Joestars, so I feel like he does have a really great degree of friends. He himself just doesn't necessarily think of them as big friends outside of school. That's probably a part of the reason why in part 4 you never see him hanging around anyone else except Okuyasu and Koichi. He knows them outside of school. He's actually done things with them outside of school, and plus they're crucial to the story. But if we saw Josuke with some random classmate and we started learning about them, then it would just be like, oh well, this guy isn't crucial to the story. It's actually collateral damage. So, but overall, I think he's like a somewhat popular balance with a decent in school actually mindset. Now, part 5, Giorno. Giorno is a lot similar to Jonathan in school, at least I believe. I believe that Giorno in school is probably very quiet, but he's smart enough and he's like gifted enough that he shows out just a little, but he only shows out a little just so he could have people around him that he could use in the event of he actually needs them. You know what I mean? Because when we do see Giorno, we see him in school for such a brief second. It's low-key hard to pinpoint what he would be doing, but just based off of his personality, yeah, I see him being popular, yes, because again, you gotta remember, this is part deal, being popular, but the people he has around him are mostly for potential manipulative use, not necessarily for people he wants to be around. Because in the show, one thing that is made kind of abundantly clear is that he kind of likes his personal space and alone time. This can be seen when, for one, he at the cafe and all the girls are flocked around him and he's like, hey, leave me the fuck alone, please. I pretty sure he said some line about him having a girlfriend, which that was never expanded on, but I mean, it'll make sense. Like him and Jotaro's archetype is very, very similar, except Giorno's not cursing you out. Jotaro is. But they're both around like the same like popular loner, except Jotaro, he's not trying to get cool with you just to use you. Giorno, he may get cool with you just to use you, but if you're annoying enough, he's just going to walk away. Jolene in school is a disruptive troublemaker. Now, the reason I say that is because you have to remember, she did not have her father in her life. Because she didn't have a father in her life, and she barely saw Jotaro, she then had just this freedom to do what she wants without having actual repercussions at home. You know what I mean? Because call her dad, that nigga in Japan, nigga, this is Florida in the 2000s. What are you gonna do? So in school, she's just doing whatever the hell she wants at leisure. You know what I mean? And you also got to think about it. She's a Kujo. So her archetype is probably the closest to Jotaro, except the fact that she probably has a lot of friends. A lot of friends. Again, Jolene is very similar to Jotaro, but the difference is she's very outgoing. She's not as introverted as Jotaro. She probably has a very big amount of friends that just get up to no good. Think about it. She is a delinquent teenager. This is the same girl who got caught stealing a car in 06 when she was like, what, 14, 15? She was definitely out there smoking, drinking, partying, everything you could think under the sun Jolene was doing. I think even like when you even look at her later teenage years, that's where shit really got bad, because again, now not only is she just doing crazy shit, she probably has a group around her with her doing crazy shit that's been doing crazy shit for her for like 4 or 5 years. Y'all don't, she's definitely like a popular class clown-ish type girl. And then with her grades, I don't know how much faith I have in them grades. And that's not to say Jolene's not smart. Jolene is very smart. However, she is a delinquent. We're seeing C's, maybe even a little bit of D's, but mostly C's, some B's, and if we're lucky, good semester, maybe an A. Johnny Joestar in school. This is probably the easiest one. He was just a rich douchebag. That's it. Just a fucking douchebag. Unless we are talking about him being so young that you can't even really count it. Elementary, you can't count it for real. In school, rich douchebag. Simple. Popular rich douchebag. We literally see that in glimpses of when we got Johnny's backstory. This man was going on threesomes at like 17, 16. Because he was one of the most popular horse jockey racers in the country. Y'all don't think he was going crazy at his school? He was probably throwing 1800s ragers, telling his dad, "Oh no, that's the wrong property. That's not our property. Well, our property is here. That party's across town." Knowing damn well he finna be at that party by tonight. Knowing damn fucking well. Like, if I'm being honest, you also have to remember his dad was always stricken by grief. So like, I don't think he was a present parent to Johnny, especially youth Johnny. Johnny was probably getting away with whatever the fuck, and his dad could not even care a single morsel. Josuke 8 is nothing but pure confusion. Yeah, I think that just follows him everywhere. If Josuke 8 was, well, if you haven't read Part 8, I can't really say much, but if you have, that means he's a fusion. So I just think he would probably just be confused throughout school, mainly. The way y'all remember he was posing at the beginning, the fucking straight ass, standstill ass poses, I think he's still doing that. I do. I do think, however, he would be decent in school. He's not dumb. He is pretty smart. He would be pretty decent in school. And I also feel like he would have some friends. It would just be like, he would always be in like a confusion state. Like, who am I? Just he's thinking about that in math class though. They're going over some shit for the test. He's like, why did I get here? And finally, our local drug dealer, Jojo. And Jojo Joestar is the high school drug dealer. Yeah. He's just doing what he already does in school in canon, which is sell drugs in various places within the school. Yeah, you know he's pushing that hard shit. He's not pushing. Yeah, he's pushing some, you know, but he's also pushing coke and not cola. H M. But other than him being a drug dealer, I think he would probably be, for the most part, putting on a facade as a chill kid, doesn't do much, you know, gets his grades in. He's probably a straight A student, honestly, because he's putting up a facade so that in his spare time, what he's doing does not seem like something he would do ever, you know, because teachers probably ask about, or someone probably asked about him, teachers, they were like, oh, Jojo, oh yeah, he's such a great kid, knowing damn well Jojo be going to all the parties, going to all the ragers, be in fights, be doing all crazy shit. Because Jojo, the thing with him is, once he started touching money, we literally see it in the manga. I forget, it was like the first chapter where he says, you're like this, and I'm like this. And this thing is just posing around a bunch of people fucking dancing. You know he's at the parties. You know he's the life of the party. It's Jojo. I don't know. If you think Jojo is not out there at the parties going crazy, he's probably getting way more clients at the parties. But again, he's probably sober the whole entire time. Y'all know what they say. Don't get high on your own supply. But yeah, if you did enjoy this video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. You know, we're on the road to 5K, so anything helps. And until next time. Peace. JoJo villains are very devious, but today I want to talk about what devious acts will they do within the classroom, because you know they really do fuck things up. But not all of them will be bad. Some of them will be cool. I think some of them would even be on the good side in the classroom, just so they can get away with their side plots a lot easier. And starting off, we will start off with Dio. Now, the thing with Dio in a classroom is that simply he's going to be good, I think. I believe he's going to be good because you got to remember, Dio is one of the most charismatic people within JoJo's Bizarre Adventures. He's probably the most charismatic person within JoJo's Bizarre Adventures. He's going to get all of his work done. He's going to learn, but he's also trying to learn things that would help him exploit the system that he's in. The one thing about Dio is that he is really known to exploit and try to benefit from whatever he's going through. So if he sees an opportunity there, he definitely will take it, no questions asked. The only way that I see Dio being a bad kid is if he's provoked, and even then, I see him making up some scheme to ruin their life in a similar fashion to the way he ruined Jonathan's life. Except with the person's life who he's going to ruin, he's probably going to end up psychologically torturing them almost to death. Up next, we have Cars. Now, with Cars, I feel like he's just not, like, of course Car is going to be the smartest person in the room. He's probably just going to be a know-it-all, but at the same time of being a know-it-all, I don't see him doing his work because you'll probably see that as beneath him, as he already knows all this shit. Why would he even give a fuck about human affairs and teachings and history? All the shit he slept through on purpose. Why would he care? Like, I genuinely believe that he wouldn't even make it a full, like, school day without, like, being like, all right, this is low-key stupid, and then start leaving to start thinking of a new plan to rule the world or whatever the case is. I mean, genuinely, look at the way he was acting in part 2 and think back. What was one of the things he was most known to do? Now, he was most known to keep his people in check because he knew how to keep them in check. So I think for part of it, I feel like at the start, yeah, he's going to be in check, he's going to be chilling, he's not really going to care, but after a while he's just going to be like, why am I here? I don't care nothing about this. Like, I've already learned all this. Even if I didn't, none of this will benefit me in my larger goal or task of dominating the planet. I don't care about none of these tests or quizzes or none of that. I don't give a fuck. And I feel like he would just leave by then. Hokagekhi. Now, Hokagekhi is a special case because he is the one where it's probably the easiest to predict what he was like. He was just average student, played sports, stayed in shape, had some friends, had a regular life. That was literally his whole overarching point. He's always wanted that, a regular, normal, everyday, average life. And plus, I'm pretty sure it's canon he played sports. I may be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's canon. He's the guy like the teachers call on him and all that, and he sometimes knows the answers, but sometimes he doesn't. You know, one of the things I think with Hokagekhi is he's definitely playing up the averageness just so that what he does in his free time wouldn't be found out. Because again, you have to remember, he started killing in high school. He was 16 when he started killing. He definitely had to put on a mask whenever he was in person. And you also have to remember when he was a child, when he gained randomly a fucking hand fetish. You know, he's going to be hiding a lot of things. Like, he's kind of like the weird guy, the weirdish guy, but everyone thinks he's normal, but you just can't prove it. You can't prove it, but you're looking at him the whole time like, something wrong with him. There's something off. I'm missing something. When in reality, it's just something that you don't even want to know, because then that will cause you to be on his hit list. Up next, we have Diablo. He's another one, but I feel like since Diablo / Doppio exists, Doppio is going to be the one who's seen as, you know, the quiet kid, not really doing much, you know. As a matter of fact, I can't even use Diablo for this framework because Diablo, he doesn't go outside. So yeah, Doppio, he's gonna be the quiet kid, never doing much, doing his grades on time. Everyone thinks he's a nerdy kid. Everyone thinks he's just regular, a good kid, got his life on straight, headed to college. But they don't know he's really living a secret devil life in a crime syndicate. They're the friend that like you talk to in school and you may talk to outside of school, but you never know what they're doing, where they're going, or where they're at. You just randomly see on their story they're someplace they're not supposed to be on a random day, and you're like, I literally just saw you at school. That don't matter. They have more important business to attend to. Like Doppio, he's literally I imagine him having some friends or acquaintances, but outside of school, don't no one see him. Everyone, you might see him around town maybe once or twice, but after that, he's gone. Everyone's just looking around wondering what happened with him. You know, now that I'm thinking about it, most of the people most of the main villains in JoJo's are good people in school. It's just how they'll be perceived socially. And Doppio is definitely being perceived odd socially. Because you got to remember too, just because Diablo doesn't fully appear won't mean he won't show up. And when he shows up in the form of like a fucking stapler and Doppio randomly gets up, grabs it, it's like, hello? Oh, sorry, teach. Can I go outside and take this? What are you talking about? That's a stapler. Who are you talking to? They would most likely think he had a mental illness or something of the sort. At the very, very, very least. Now Poochie's a different case because you have to remember he grew up, not only was he a priest in a very Christian area, he was also rich. Rich. So Poochie, we've seen his personality. It's very polite. At least when you look at when he met Dio, it was very polite. He was very polite and kind to someone who was literally just lingering around a closed church. So I feel like Poochie would be a popular, kind kid, but also popular in the sense of like he's in a, what's the school called? Private school with other rich kids, learning about quote unquote higher materials and things like that, while also being in a Christian Catholic school and training to become a priest and going through the different motions of religion his entire life. But I feel like people would just see him as, you know, the good, you know, preacher boy essentially. out of all the people, him and Dio are probably the two that are like the best students and shit. I think those two, because again, both of them are geniuses in their own rights, and both of them are very charismatic and know how to get people to follow them. Not necessarily like them, but follow them. But even then, Dio knows how to get people to love him, which that's a whole different ball game. But I also feel like Poochie's very sneaky, so he would do very underhanded things in such a way and then make it seem like, oh yeah, that's not even a bad thing. I was just trying to look out for myself. I don't know why you would take that as an issue. It doesn't sound like an issue, does it? Oh, it does? Well, what are you gonna do? Like, that's the type of person Poochie seems like. Now, Funny Valentine. Again, here is another very charismatic villain. I think... Wait, didn't Funny Valentine go to Harvard? Am I tweaking? Didn't he go to Harvard? Even if he didn't, Funny Valentine is your classic student... He's your class and student government president. Classic. He's trying to argue for betterment of the school because he's practicing what he's going to do in politics a few years later. He did graduate from Harvard, though. That is something I did look up. He not only is he the student government class president, he's like everyone has the kid that's in your class that's like super duper patriotic and like ultra very America heavy. Oh yeah, we're the best nation on the earth. We've never done anything wrong ever. What you're talking? No, we didn't do that. Like, that's the type of guy Funny Valentine is. Oh yeah, we don't do anything bad. We literally fix everything. He's the guy that you know that went to your high school and he now posts the American flag on his story talking about, I'm proud to be a US born American in this great state and great nation. He doing all these and shit. He probably got at least 2 pictures on his profile with this. But I don't think Funny Valentine was annoying with it, only because he knew that it's better to gain connections rather than annoy people with something. As a matter of fact, this is the 1800s. He probably was annoying with it and everyone probably didn't give a fuck because, again, very American back then. Very American. So he was definitely the guy, like the ancestor of the guy who just never shuts up about how great it is to be an American and what great privileges we have in America. And finally, Toru. Honestly, it's weird trying to think of what Toru would be like in the classroom. You know, because when I think about it, for one, I think that he wouldn't be there that often, obviously, because he's a rock human. But also, even without him being a rock human, he doesn't even like interacting with people or anything either. That's like a natural trait of like his biology. They don't make interpersonal relationships and shit. So again, who did I say was gonna be a quiet kid? Doppio? Toru's probably the real quiet kid. He's the kid you don't see for most of the year. He's the kid who, when you check their fucking grade sheet, he has like 85 absences in one class, and the next he has 100. Then the next he has another 100. Like, he just has, in total, he has around 500 absences crossing like 5 classes. He just doesn't care. He doesn't care about the school that much. Like, and genuinely, he's not good at talking to people or being communicative. But just because he isn't there doesn't mean he wouldn't have some type of personal relationships, which in reality will all be relationships of which he's manipulating somebody. He's probably one of those guys who be on Discord trying to groom a 14-year-old. He's one of the guys you don't see unless he's directly talking to somebody and they're making a plan. A plot, a ploy, if you will. Then you see him get on the wrong bus and go to someone else's neighborhood, which you know he does not live in, but he's there to do something very devious. Toru's an interesting case though, because again, when we see him, we know he's very manipulative. I mean, think about the way he manipulated Yasho. Like that was crazy manipulation, and the fact that he came back talking the same shit. But we also know that he doesn't necessarily like interpersonal relationships at all. It's all strictly business. So he's going to just have business connects on school grounds. He's going to be one of those guys who just post on their story, tap in, but they're not selling drugs. No, you're tapping into something else, something you don't even know. But if you did enjoy this video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. You know, we're on the road to 5K, so anything helps. And until next time, peace. We've done JoJo's in the classroom, and a lot of y'all wanted JoJo villains in the classroom, which we also did. But now y'all started asking for JoBro videos, and who am I to not oblige with the JoBro videos? Now for this video, I will be using a JoBro from each part. I may use multiple, I may not. It really depends on how I'm feeling once I get to whatever part it is. But we are going to talk about how they would interact with a classroom and what they would do, what type of student they are, and basically what their rep would be. And if you do enjoy this video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. But let's get straight into it, starting with part 1 with Speedwagon. I would include Will in here, but you know what, fuck it, I'll talk about Will too. But Speedwagon in specific, he's not going to school. He's just a modern gangster, honestly. When you look at Speedwagon in the beginning of part 1, he was on the street. Mind you, Speedwagon's same age as Jonathan, around the same age, I'm pretty sure. Didn't go to school, was not in school, was not in college. He was not doing none of that shit. He was on the street hustling rich niggas like Jonathan, stealing their money, taking their jewels, holding them for a ransom, making sure him and his family has something to eat at night. And I think it's more of the same. However, I do think he pulls up sometimes, and I do think the only reason he hasn't officially been kicked out of the school is because whenever there's a test, he does really well on the test. Speedwagon strikes me as someone who, even though he's on the street, he's very, very smart. Very, very smart. We saw his street smarts in action when he first went to Jonathan's house, met Dio, and was like, hey, your brother is a fucking weirdo. You should low-key kill this nigga. That's still so crazy. Speedwagon really said that to Dio first time he met him. But Speedwagon definitely strikes me as one who, yes, he's not in class. Yes, he's skipping class. Yes, he does not care about the class. But at least quizzes and tests he does well on. So he has like a high D, maybe late C. But you just know all the homework, classwork, all that, he's not getting done. And you're not seeing him most of the week, so get used to it. As far as Will Zeppeli, though, I see him being as more of a decent student. But again, another one you're really not seeing most of the week. But not for street activities, just for the fact that he has better things to be doing than going to school. Like, I feel like you would see him, obviously, more than Speedwagon. But, like, you would see him so that he can meet up with his friends, discuss plans for what's after school, and leave. Really. But honestly, Will, I have a little bit more faith in Will. You know who I really see that for? Caesar. That's why we need to talk about Caesar right now. Part 2, Caesar. Caesar is not, he's another one who's just not going to school. For almost all the reasons I listed with Speedwagon, but also with the reasons I listed with Will Zeppeli. He's going there so that he can talk to girls. He can chill in the classroom, not do anything, talk to his friends, hang out, you know what I mean? But then midday, lunch, come lunch, you're not seeing him for the rest of the day probably. I still remember that sometimes too. Like when I was in high school, it was people, they would barely be here. They'll pull up late at like 9. Lunch at 11:30. Come lunch, I don't see him for the rest of the day. School don't end for another 3 hours. And the thing with Caesar is I also just don't see him turning in his work at all. I don't see him doing good on quizzes or tests. I just don't see him caring in general. Like he's just going to find some side hustle outside of school, hang out with his friends outside of school. Basically the people that you already, if you've been in like high school the people you already see that just do not take school serious in the slightest. Like, it'll be a school day at 10:30 and you'll see him at the fucking movie theater or some stupid shit like that. Honestly, adding something a little bit in, I think Caesar would even be borderline class clownish when he's in class, but I can't give him the class clown title because I don't see him being in class often enough for him to even be called that. He's probably just called the kid with like 100 absences, 100 tardies. Like, even if, and that's my whole thing, even if he does show up, he's probably going to be tardy. It's finna be late as shit. Up next, we have Kakyoin and Polnareff. Now, for Kakyoin, we know, I really honestly don't even need to go long into Kakyoin's, like, time in school. He's literally just the quiet kid that you don't dislike, but again, you're like, oh, well, he's there. He's like the quiet kid who looks mean. Quiet kid who looks mean and sad and depressed. The one you see sitting at lunch all alone, or you don't even see him at lunch because he's somewhere else on campus that no one else is. That's how lonely and sad and depressed Kakyoin was. And that was his school life. Like, that was just who he was in school. Now for Polnareff. Now, Polnareff in school is definitely a class clown. He's a class clown, but he's also like, see, the thing with Polnareff, he's not the JoBro that gives me super senior vibes. There is one that I will talk about later. And if you know, you should know just based off me saying super senior vibes. You should know who that JoBro is. He's not the one who gives me those vibes, but he is the one who gives me vibes that, like, he would be like damn near a school hoe. Like, the entire school would know he's going. He's fucking everything moving. He's probably one of those ones where, like, you know more about his reputation outside of school than in school. I feel like most of the JoBros so far, that's their reputation. You know more about them outside of school than in school. Also, I see him being like a D minus student, few C's, 1B, uno, 1B, and a singular A for most of the years in high school that came from gym class. Came from gym. Like, Polnareff, he's definitely not at school to learn. He's there to socialization. He's not there to make, well, he is there to make friends, but he's not there to make friends with the teachers. Polnareff is probably low-key, like, I could see him being a sports jock, but, like, not one of the traditional sports. Even, I could see him being any sports jock, but one of the first ones I was thinking was something like, nah, that's a stupid sport. I was about to say a really stupid sport. Yeah, I could see him being like a football player or something. Yeah, I could see him being an athlete. So he's going to be at class, but he's a class clown basically. Like, almost basically a class clown, but not completely, because he's still trying to talk to mad girls. Part 4. Again, another part we low-key see them in action, but not too much. Not enough, honestly. Part 4 needed more, like, in school, in classroom scenes. Since we already see them niggas in school on the regular. Whatever. But, right, part 4. 1, Okuyasu and Koichi. Okuyasu, like I talked about with Josuke, if him and Josuke are in the same classroom, they are both class clowns / they're making the teacher's life hell. They're making the teachers separate them. They're finna be passing notes across the classroom once they get separated. Them niggas is laughing at everything. They don't get, I mean, they try to do their work. I'm not gonna say they don't get their work done. They try to do it, but they may not necessarily understand it all the time. But with Okuyasu, I think Josuke, like, tutors this nigga, low key. I think he tutors this nigga. Because again, with Josuke, I believe he gets good grades mainly just because his mom don't play that, and she would be on his ass, ready to drop kick him in the stomach if he didn't get good grades. With Okuyasu, he's a little, just a tad bit slow. So I think he definitely goes to Josuke for help, and they try to study. but they don't really study well, so I don't see them getting that good of a grade. But I could see Okuyasu sneaking in a good amount of like C's, maybe a few B's, shit, maybe 3 A's, not for a semester, just on a random quiz. And then with Koichi's just a good kid. Yeah, I don't really have much for Koichi except he's just, you know, good kid, really solid, always doing his work, getting shit done. You know, he's probably another one you never see him talk to women, but that's not necessarily his fault, because he is a friendly person, but he has a crazy girlfriend who would just, you know, almost kill the woman if he talked to her. Because I don't know if y'all do remember that one episode where we see them doing after school activities, and Koichi, he walks away or does something, and Yokaku sets the girl's hair on fire while choking her with hair. What the fuck? Part 5. Who in school? We could do Narancia in school, where we know if we're doing Narancia in school, we also have to account the 5 years he's taken off since, because again, he stopped going to school at what, like 10? Then he randomly picked back up after Bruno paid for him in the hospital and told him to go to school. But then he joined the mafia. So yeah, he's one. I don't even think he's like a class clown or anything. He's probably one of the ones where like they're sitting in the back, he got his headphones on, but he's definitely a tweaker. Everyone at school knows he's a tweaker. And if you don't know what I mean like, you mess with him, I dare you to mess with him, because he might kill you. Narancia got some anger issues deep seated, and they come out in the craziest ways. The thing with Narancia throughout part 5 literally was he was getting mad over the smallest shit. It's like 4 instances I can remember off of the top of my head of him doing crazy shit off of small things. For example, first time we see him get into a stand bite, I forget who was against. Bro, as soon as he figured out who the enemy was, this nigga started shooting up the car like there was no tomorrow. There was so many that car had to have 500 bullets in it. Or when he stabbed Fugo with a fucking fork. Well, no, Fugo stabbed him, then he picked up a knife and he was about to stab him. Or when that guy bumped into him and he had a stain on his white suit and he was like, "Oh, you gotta pay for that," and he picked Narancia up, and Narancia picked his glass up, right here. I think he's getting in school fights. Not even think, he's definitely getting in school fights. He might actually end up getting expelled like by the end of the year. Because the thing with Narancia, if you even try him, he's just going straight to violence. It's no, what's up? It's no, oh, I don't want to fight. No, it's just straight violence, straight hands, anger. But besides that, he's chilling. Music on, blasting, chilling. But try him, hands. Then you also have the other half, Fugo. Another one, straight hands and feet. But the thing with Fugo is he's a good student. He's getting the shit done. You know, he's top of the class. Oh, valedictorian probably. He's probably valedictorian level. But his anger issues are so bad that he probably keeps his great kid status solely by fighting people off campus. Literally, after school, he's probably chasing people, walking them down to their house while they're walking to their house, and he just starts throwing them bitches, starts hitting them. Fugo, like, those two, understandably, it makes sense, they're gangsters, but damn, they have some crazy anger issues that are just on display throughout part 5. But with Fugo, you would probably just think, oh yeah, everything's fine. You know, you probably think he has all these different extracurriculars and hobbies and all that, and he definitely does. But he leads a secret double life, one where he's just letting out pent up aggression. I'm not doing Bruno for this one because even though I count him as a JoBro, I feel like I've talked about Bruno so much, I don't need to add him into this one. This is the one exclusive one where I'm talking about part 5 side characters. I don't mention Bruno. And plus the video will be way too long, but You ain't hear that from me. Even though you did. Part 6. Okay. Man, this is a cast of characters to choose from. All of them you would probably not want to be friends with. Let me not say that, but most of the side characters you just wouldn't want to be friends with, genuinely. Hermes, well, if you aren't friends with Hermes, you have a higher chance of getting your shit stolen. I'll say that. Hermes, she's poor. So since she's poor, and it was shown time and time again throughout the series, since she's poor, she will steal money and she will hide it. She definitely can. And it's on top of the fact that Hermes, she has a vendetta, V for vendetta, and she had a whole purpose on going to prison, which was hunting down her sister's killer. So there's also the fact that she's not mentally stable. I can promise you she's not mentally stable. Honestly, he's not going to look at you as a friend. He's going to look at you as more of a pawn that he can use whenever. And if you were to cross him, which God forbid, you're probably going to end up in a body bag on some highway in Central Florida, or you're ending up in the Keys. You know, he's just tossing. He might just dissolve you in some acid if he can find it. I mean, shit. Because I'm not going to lie. Him dismembering his girlfriend and her affair partner and, you know, all that. I don't think that was the first time he did it. It definitely wasn't. He's always loved to take things apart and put things together. And that's another thing, too. Imagine you're at school and you see this nigga taking apart a phone. You know, I think honestly he's more of a weird kid. Very, very weird kid. Very, very, very weird kid. You know, he's one of the kids where you're kind of worried because you're like, what is his fascination with removing things? Until you fuck up and cross him. Then you find out. Weather report after the accident. I just pray for you. Not for you in specific. I just pray for whoever comes across him and says anything. Just says anything that he could take as offensive or angry, or he even has a chance to let his anger out on you, because he will. Oh, he will. He's gonna let his anger out on you right before he tries to kill himself again. Part 7. All right, now for these last 3 parts, we're doing one side character. Okay. Part 7. Obvious side character, Gyro Zeppeli in school. I see him. Well, if we're doing modern and he's keeping like his prestigious lineage, I'm still seeing him, you know, as a good kid in school. It's not really doing much. I do see him as someone who sneaks around and does everything in the dark, just because of the fact that if he gets caught, his parents strict, it's over. He's a kid with strict ass parents, but that don't stop him. That shit stopped nothing. He's still going out every night, going to that party, still out past curfew. He actually has more freedom than you, and you probably don't even have strict parents. His parents are probably stricter than yours, and he has more freedom than you, simply because he's sneaking around and to do all the shit he wants to do. He's not letting time go to waste. That's one thing Gyro isn't doing. Part 8. Now it's time for the super senior. Super duper uber senior. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to end it off on part 8 too. The uber duper super ultra senior. It's probably 19 years old. Joshu Higashikata. Listen, bro. Listen. Joshu Higashikata is the definition of a shut-in, no good, no job. Wait, does he have a job? I'm pretty sure. Didn't he say he had a job, but it was like a weak ass job or something? Because I still remember the panel of his father looking at him like, when he said something about a job. Either way, he either got a weak ass job or no job. Bum. His family is rich, and they barely even trust him enough to give that man 50 bucks. So not only will he in school probably be a rich douchebag, got all the new tech gadgets, all that shit, right? Not only is he a weirdo and a creep, because you just see him looking at girls in the hallway, creeping on them. He'll be the nigga you have to reject 7 times for him to walk away. And while he's walking away, okay, fuck you. You was ugly anyway. Not only is all that, it's probably an uber senior, the super duper uber senior. He has no direction in life, no moral compass. He just does the things he wants to, and then like his family, they don't care anymore because they feel like he's low-key a lost cause. So you know, they just let him go to school, get his graduation, but after graduation, everyone knows that he's probably going to get kicked out. So everyone's just mentally preparing for the day where he's on the street and he's asking you for $1. Cause still, I'm not gonna lie, still to this day, it blows my mind that this man asked his father for $50. Mind you, this is the same family that did not notice $4 million going missing when Jobin's wife went and got her nose redid. Well, no, went and got the the Hokagekhi fruit. Did not notice. And it was probably more than $4 million if I remember correctly, but didn't notice. But $50, they can't give him $50. They did give him $50, but it was so reluctant. I was like, bro, oh my god. But that's really all I got for y'all. If y'all enjoyed this video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. You know, we're on the road to 5K, so anything helps. And until next time, peace.